I don't think it gets any better than this. Wow. What a day. Although, I must say, this is the first day we've had any wind in weeks. Since before Christmas, and this is April, we've had a succession of 80-degree days and cloudless skies, interrupted by only one real course of rain in about a week. And this is not the real storybook Los Angeles. Usually we have fronts coming through in the wintertime and rain, and it's quite cool. But the downside of it is that weeks went by with absolutely no wind. We're in the middle of a high pressure system, and when the Santa Ana winds, the reverse northerly winds that cause so much destruction because they blow 50, 60 knots down the canyons, when they come, they peter out by the time they get to the Pacific, so there's no wind on those days either. But here's 10 knots, 78 degrees. April. Is it the cruelest month? I don't think so. I'm with Geoffrey Chaucer. Wandered April with a shower of sweat, the drouth of March hath pierced to the root, and bathed every vein, and switched liquor of which engendered is le fleur. Yes, yes, Middle English. But really, there's just no match for seeing a bud come up. It's the same when you're 8 years old as it is later on. We sort of feel a sense of renewal. I don't know if it's true or not, but somebody said that there could be no literature, or even language, without vegetable myths in which we are reborn each year. Well, that may be stretching it to a point, but there always is a sense of rebirth, and then also a sense of time passing, even in this wonderful day of April. Namely, that the stuff I made 8 years ago has now worn out. These cushions are 8 years old now, that is the fabric, and the piping was made of vinyl, which is what's on the back of it. You know, 2 trans-Pacific voyages with me sleeping on them have sort of caused this vinyl piping to deteriorate. But I think I can fix that. Let's see if we can do this without waking these lunatic puppies up. I think if you talk to any upholsterer, he would say, "Sir, why are you replacing the piping on these cushions? It's half of the job. Why not get all new cushions and we can make those for you in 3 or 4 months?" Well, I like these cushions, and there's, even after 8 years, nothing wrong with this cloth after they've been washed. The critical thing for changing the piping, which I've already removed the old piping from here, for reassembly is index marks. That is, there needs to be a way, believe me, to maintain the correct alignment of the 2 pieces of cloth after you've gone around corners and such. And it's just a matter of conceptualizing where the piping goes, which is on the outside. Therefore, it must go here, and it must go counterintuitively here, so that when the cushion is turned correctly, right side out, only the cord of the piping shows. Thank you very much for letting me do this without a lot of interference. Thank you very much. And when it comes to weather cloths, I'm quite partial to them. Mostly because I think I prefer not to have anything overhead so I can see the sails. And I'm not at all a fan of bimini tops, which are up all the time and don't really provide much shade anyway. The weather cloths provide the important function of stopping waves that are coming from a beam from splashing into the cockpit. The Erickson hull form creates almost no spray from the bow, even in somewhat radical conditions. For this set of weather cloths, I put a piece of leather here because I tended to wear down, because this is where you grab when you're cranking that winch. And also a pocket comes in mighty handy for things like the covers of instruments, or even a Diet Coke will fit in there, or a pipe. I prefer not to have a dodger, and this is the substitute. It turns out that when the wind is cool, and there might be some spray in it, that folks can sort of hunker down behind here and find a good deal of shelter, even when we're going to windward for some reason, the way the breeze is bent. And when it's necessary to have shade, I have a temporary solution, which is a market umbrella. That gets mounted, which provides quite a nice spot of shade, and can be kept up even in 20 knots, especially downwind. And of course, when the sun goes away, it's just a matter of putting it back down below. And utilizing the same umbrella in this bracket here on the companionway ladder, I can provide a sunshade for the companionway and a rain shade, and again negate the need for a dodger. It's not a great call for this particular use of the umbrella, but when you need it, you need it. To each his own, no doubt. We are abeam now of Pacific Palisades. Yes, the fire came down from those peaks of the Santa Monica Mountains, driven by a northerly wind, the opposite wind that we have now, and swept from the mountaintops right down to the coast, from Malibu to the Palisades, and just laid waste to the whole hillside community. rebuilding, well, I would say 5% of the lots of the 7,000 homes displaced in the Palisades, burned down in the Palisades, have begun rebuilding. The rest are either for sale or awaiting permits or insurance payments or contractor availability. Even so, on an April day, it still looks grand, and it is grand. I've lived all over the place. In California, well, there it is. And out there, nothing at all until Hawaii and the South Seas. Why, it stirs the imagination, wouldn't you say? Ready about. Heartily. Well, there's a fowl. My goodness. I'd forgotten that cleat can foul the line. I don't know what to do about that. It happens once every 5 years. Well, that's pleasant enough. Time for some grub. And as regards the passage of time on boats, let's have a Diet Coke. Ah, ice. A good sign. My refrigeration failed a couple of weeks ago. And We have to have refrigeration, after all. I used to think that a real sailor didn't have a refrigerator. He used ice and a handy ice pick. And it's true that those shards of ice really made drinks taste better at anchorage. But now, I like a cold Diet Coke anytime I want one, and refrigeration that runs 24/7. So the old stuff had to go. So this is the old Adler Barbour refrigeration system, the compressor, the tubes that carry the refrigerant to the evaporator. I think it worked for at least 10 years. I've had the boat, and probably 10 before that. And then finally it gave up the ghost. I decided to replace it with a similar unit, the Isotherm. And when all is said and done, it's pretty much the same idea. The evaporator is a little bit smaller. I'm still using the old vertical ice trays. And I fasten the tubes to the hull by first positioning a piece of wood and attaching it with construction adhesive. It's a good idea to keep these things somewhat isolated from water. So I have a protective case around it, reinforced so I can hang the life jackets from that. All in all, a simple enough installation, although it requires a good deal of bending. Of course, makes a tremendous mess to do one of these jobs, but really all that takes is a moment of cleanup. April, but I can't look south at that empty horizon knowing what's out there. Hawaii. I'll be there at the end of the month, but by airplane this time. I think probably my days of solo sailing there are over. But there are still plenty of memories. Books to reread, my own, if you like. Videos. There have been so many Aprils. This is a good one. But it's fun to look back too, because some Aprils are not as benign as this. Spring is here, finally. The spring we've all been waiting for. Colors shouting in your ears, orange blossoms and lemons showing off. And look what we've left behind. Oh, sorry, you can't walk on the water anymore. And why? Because it's spring, glorious spring. Take off your sweater now, put it right back on, because even here in Southern California, spring keeps changing its mind. And although your thoughts may be cheery, the Pacific still interrupts them from time to time. But fickle spring relented today, and there's a sucker born every moment, don't you think? Because here I am, sprouting like a crocus. You know, when I tack out of a harbor, even when the wind is light like this, I just roll out a 90% jib. It's just easier than dragging that big Genoa around the mast every time. And if you have folks on board, they see how easy everything is and how effortless sailing is. Ain't spring nice? Look at those pretty clouds.
You know, spring takes credit for everything. Youth, vigor, daffodils. Nobody ever said, put some winter in your stride. But I wonder, because spring's a faker. See those cirrus clouds? It'll blow 30 knots tomorrow, and that's a fact. Spring, you're full of yourself. You don't hold still. You're often late, and then you breeze right in. I think the coldest and wettest I've ever been was in spring. Oh, and don't make plans. Spring's just waiting for that. Here's some sleet. Los Angeles usually has very well-behaved weather. Usually, in fact, it doesn't have any weather at all. Well, it looks like spring. Well, that's because it is spring, which means it's going to blow 40 one day and 0 the next. And when it gets tired of that, it puts on June gloom around here, and then May gray, and you don't see a shadow till June. My friends in the East haven't even launched their boats yet. And whose fault is that? Spring. The Chesapeake is sailing a month before New York, while Maine waits, stomping its feet. Spring ain't fair. It plays favorites. It changes its mind. Why does spring always behave like it just ate a whole ginger root? Pretty immature, if you ask me. Say, you know, the discourse if we help it.
So here we are. Glorious. The home port in sight once again. A cloudless sky, 12 knots. This is what we came for. What we always come for. And with luck, what's always here? The ocean. It's spring. When all over again, we begin.